Hi, everyone. I'm James Garbutt,
And I'm Denny Dumas.
and this is the Garbutt Dumas Real Estate Podcast.
Exciting things in real estate this morning, Jamie.
Oh, it's April.
Well, not necessarily real estate. Canada as a whole. Interest rates. Bank of Canada meeting, number 3 of 2023. This morning. We likely are the first people in the country to report on it because it happened 3 minutes ago.
Depends. Reporting on it is one thing. When the public hears the episode is another.
We're going to get this one out real quick, Carl.
Yeah. ASAP. Start downloading it right now. Getting it out there live stream this.
Not a bad idea. Long story short, Bank of Canada keeps the rates the same for the second meeting in a row. So the overnight rate remains at 4.5%, which results in prime. The prime rate at 6.7, remaining the same as it did on March 8th.
We're in peak season right now, and this is a rate hold. This is some forward-looking optimism in a lot of people's minds, and I think it's kind of, we're seeing that in the front lines out in the market too.
When you say peak season, I think traditionally peak season, but I was having this conversation yesterday with a couple people on our team, and it seems like we are 2 to 3 months behind a traditional real estate cycle this year. Usually towards the end of January, we see lead flow pick up. We see a lot more buyer activity. We see listings start to hit market. And this year, it seems like it's just really started in the last 30 days.
Yeah, I think there's a really good argument that it might be delayed. I think we could very well see a very busy May and June. I think the only issue with like a true 2-3 month delay in the market is Vancouverites and people in BC love to summer vacation. You know, and I would be pretty surprised if mid-July to mid-August was peak season or felt really busy. In typical markets, a lot of people go away at that time. So maybe this year will be an exception, but time will tell.
Time will tell. Well, let's discuss how, or what's happening with single family homes throughout Greater Vancouver right now. We've kind of narrowed in on a handful of different cities and going to share some stats of how single family is performing, maybe compared to last year or the fall. And has the last 30 days been any different with the rate hikes holding? You know,
maybe before we get into the stats, I think it would be good to just share what we're seeing. You know, like we've been selling some single family homes lately. Definitely noticing a big uptick in open house activity. Our open houses are busy. Showings are busier than expected. We're running into multiple offer situations more commonly. I'm starting to see buyers settle. You know, there was a moment there where buyers went from buying things sight unseen or without inspections, just throwing cash at it last spring, 2022. And then the fall, everyone got a little more picky because there was uncertainty and starting to see buyers settle because there's very little available. And in some markets, I mean, the sales are down, but ultimately listings are down significantly. And it doesn't feel like a slow market when there's multiple offers going on. It's just slow in terms of sales volume compared to previous years.
Totally. And this is kind of across all product types too. Even we have some clients looking into like luxury type price points, and they're busy. Like we have someone looking in Langley for single family at like between $2 and $2.5 million, which is luxury out there. And the last 5 properties they've seen, 4 have sold before they got to see them. And the one that they wrote an offer on got 5 offers. And this is happening like across Greater Vancouver. Our latest single family sale in North Van a week ago was, I mean, fantastic location, updated home, has a suite. It checks a lot of boxes for like the young family that's upsizing from a townhouse or a condo. That had 75 people through, 75 groups through in 3 showing windows. Received 4 offers, sold like well above list price, and even more above list price than, or a much higher number than we would have seen 2 months ago, and a significantly higher number than we would have seen in like September, October last year.
Absolutely. I mean, approximately, if I were to guess, it would have been 10% less in November. I mean, that's a wild guess. Don't have a side-by-side apples to apples comparison, but it was busier than expected. The price was higher than expected. I wouldn't necessarily say it would match the price that we would have seen last March or April 2022 peak of the market, but pretty close.
Yeah,
Pretty close. I mean, North Van, that's a North Van example. There's examples in all cities that we're seeing. We got multiple offers on a busier street home in New Westminster. That's I believe it's I don't remember the era. I think it's 1940s. But I mean, ultimately, there's very little available. And when a house has a layout, 3 bedrooms up, or an ideal family layout, it gets a lot of interest. The land value, I think, is still struggling. The teardowns, the ones that need a significant reno to be livable, but I think we'll probably start seeing those come back soon. And not that they've gone away. It's just that builders aren't the best buyer right now. And I think end users need to be a little bit more, well, like I said, people are starting to settle. So if that trend continues, end users might be buying these tear down houses and start fixing them up and making them livable.
That's the reason right there, right? Is when the renovated home like that one in North Van that we had is getting multiples and selling well over asking. That's when consumers start, decreasing or crossing things off their must-have list, just because they're getting frustrated. And with how low inventory is, I see that happening more and more in the coming few months.
One argument that these older homes that are sitting on decent or good lots could have some runway is, I don't know if you saw the news on the BC housing policy, but they're talking about taking zoning out of the hands of municipal governments and basically having standard single family lots get automatic zoning for higher density. Like, what do they call it? Like ground infill. It would be like row homes, townhomes, quad fourplexes, triplexes, those sort of things. And I don't know the details of this plan, but if you increase density, these older homes that are sitting on 6,000, 8,000 square foot lots become much more appealing. And it doesn't, in my opinion, it's not going to shock Vancouver overnight. It takes time for these things to get implemented. I'm very curious to see the details of what the parameters around those zoning bylaws are. I'm also curious to see how cities handle them, because you throw a big shift in zoning at a city and they still have to funnel it through their, building department and go through the permitting process and have building inspectors. So there could be some backlog, but that is big news. And that's something that I'll be watching in the months ahead.
If we know anything about municipalities, it's not going to be an overnight change.
No, but they're basically talking about taking it out of their hands, and I think there's some limitations there, because municipalities are the ones that are involved in the whole process right now.
Yeah.
So maybe what I mean, any video I've watched on it or anything I've heard on it is only sharing partial information. There's a lot of stuff that hasn't been released, but I personally it solves the issue. Local councillors for a city want to get reelected. They're influenced by the NIMBYism. They're influenced by the mob of people that show up that say, I don't want a quad or a triplex or a duplex behind my house. And this problem solves all that because it takes it out of their hands. It makes it automatic. It's I think one of the videos I listened to used Portland as an example, and or Oregon, I believe, did this as a whole. And it doesn't change the city overnight. I think they said in a city like Portland with 600,000 people, they had a couple hundred building applications in a given year. So I mean, I'm throwing vague stats here, but call it 200 200 triplexes, quadplexes, row homes going on single family homes in the city of Portland in a given year. We'll see what happens in Vancouver, but that is an argument to get these little ugly little homes sitting on prime land. But right now, that is probably one of the slowest product types. And we're kind of talking about more of the family homes or just in general, what's going on in the single family home market, because what we're seeing is an uptick in activity. So let's get into some numbers, Denny.
Definitely an uptick, Jamie.
Yeah.
Definitely. Where should we start? Why don't we start with your home municipality of North Vancouver?
Yeah, let's start with North Van. So year to date, North Van has 131 sales for detached single family homes. What is the date today? April
12th.
12th, as of April 12th. The low sale of the year is 1.1 million. The high sale is 3.88 million. The median sale price is 1.93 million. And like a $1.93 million home in North Vancouver would be like call it a 4-bedroom, 3-bath, 1970s built house in Lynn Valley. Not significantly renovated, maybe 2,600 square feet. If it was in, say, Central Lonsdale, it might be on a smaller lot. It's not at 1.93 million doesn't get it, doesn't buy you what it used to, but there aren't enough homes out there for the demand. So prices are high. One thing I'll mention in North Vancouver is 7 of the last 10, as of today, looking this morning, 7 of the last 10 houses that have sold above the asking price. So that, and when you scroll down the data, like when you look a month ago or 2 months or prior to the last bank announcement, I'd say 9 out of 10 were selling below list. And now 7 of 10 are selling above list. That might be a little skewed sample of 10 houses, but it is definitely a strong trend that we're back to multiple offers. And maybe this 3-day rescission period will actually come into effect.
It's definitely starting to.
Yeah. To put it in perspective, doing some comparison, I looked at February and March. So those 2 months in terms of sales. And North Van had 106 sales registered in February and March on the MLS this year, 2023. Compared to last year, 2022, it was 198. And compared to 2021, it was 282 in the same period. So 106 this year, 282 2 years ago. It's, what is that? I don't know, 40% of what it was 2 years ago.
Yeah. Less, yeah.
So we're still well below previous years in terms of sales volume, but the 7 of the last 10 sold above list. So more listings are needed, and those listings may get multiple offers. Denny, what are you seeing in your world?
I'm gonna start with New West or Port Moody.
Let's go Port Moody. Let's go North Shore.
Port Moody is not as exciting. New West stats show a slightly different story. But if you look at Port Moody in the last 60 days, there's been 27 sales. And I think Port Moody has clearly has a much higher average price point than New West. New West has a lot of entry level 1900 to 1960 homes. So Port Moody, 27 sales since February 1st. Average price, $2,037,000. Median sale price, 1.95. High, 3.175. Low, 1.2-ish, just over 1.2. Average days on market in the last 60 days, 41. Port Moody gets skewed, the data.
Yeah, well, the average gets skewed too.
because of Anmore. Anmore, and there have been a couple sales in Anmore in the last, or to start the year. So those are often homes that are on the market for 1, 2, 3 years, not months, years. And so that days on market very much skews the average, but median days on market 26 over the last 60 days. Over asking, how many homes have sold over asking in the last 60 days? 8 out of 27, which is 30%. And when I looked at New West, both cities, comparing to the fall, September, October, November, these numbers are relatively similar. If you look Port Moody in the same, or in that September to November timeframe, there's 31 sales, average sale price $2,019,000. So the average sale price is slightly higher this year comparatively. Days on market pretty similar. Number of homes sold over asking was 10% instead of 30. So you can see that homes are selling quicker. More of them are selling over asking in the last 60 days.
Sorry, 10% of the homes sold over asking in which market?
In the fall.
In the fall. Got it. Yeah.
Comparatively to the last 60 days, 30%.
Yeah.
8 out of 27. So narrowing down to the last 30 days is of a very similar story in Port Moody. And I think that is because the difference in types of single family homes, like the high list price right now for sale in Port Moody is $8.9 million.
Yeah.
And the low list price is $999,000. Whereas New West doesn't have that huge skew of property type.
No, it doesn't. But keep in mind, Port Moody has streets like Alderside that are waterfront and very expensive, and more, Belcarra.
Mm-hmm.
there's some pretty high-end homes. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know what the $8.8 million one is, but I know there's some 8,000 square foot homes with infinity pools, and I don't think New West has that.
The
So-
$8.8 million home is pretty cool. If you have, if you have a few minutes,
You'll
Google
look
it.
up. Check it out.
I think it's on Black Bear Way in Anmore. It's 11,000 square feet. It's on like 2 acres, and it's pretty
It's
cool.
nice. Yeah.
I scrolled through some photos a few times. Yeah.
I looked at Burnaby. How about I jump into Burnaby?
Yeah.
So Burnaby this year to date had has 134 sales. The low was 1.18 million. The high was 4.05 million. The median sale price was 1.9. I mean, we're not talking about much of a. Well, I think New West median sale price year to date is a little bit lower, around 1.5 ish. Or I don't know if you have that info.
Just under 1.4.
Just on, okay, so they have a little bit more lower price sales. That's a bit of a skewed data. There's not a big sample size. So let's
Totally.
but the Burnaby median sale price is 1.9. The North Vancouver median sale price is 1.93, and the Port Moody median sale price was over 2 million.
2,037,000.
Yeah. Now Port Moody is not necessarily a more expensive market than North Vancouver, but keep in mind these are smaller samples. So
Port Moody has more newer, a bigger percentage of the homes in Port Moody are newer.
Correct. Yeah. Yes.
Versus North Van has a ton of those like 60s, 70s homes that obviously are lower price points.
Right. I think if you just took, let's call it an Edgemont Village house and put it in Port Moody's Heritage Mountain, it's not going to get the same price as Edgemont Village.
No.
But I'm using one of the higher end neighborhoods as an example.
Totally.
You put a Lynn Valley house in Heritage Mountain, it might be, I'd have to think about that a little bit more, but it might be similar. I think Lynn Valley might edge it out a little bit in terms of price.
Yeah, I think it'd be pretty close, but I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think Lynn Valley would edge it out by maybe 5 to 10%.
And North Van has houses on Dollarton on the waterfront that are sitting on 20,000 square feet, that are 10,000 square foot homes with yachts that are $2 million. So in terms of the higher price point, I think Port Moody probably caps out around 8.8 million, and North Van probably has $15 million homes somewhere. But that being said, I'm talking about Burnaby now. So Burnaby had 134 sales year to date. And when I isolated February and March 2023, there was 102 sales. Now to give that a comparison with previous years, 102 sales in 2023 in February and March. In 2022, that was 187. And in 2021, that was 255. So basically 2.5 times the sales happened in the same period 2 years ago. 2021 was a crazy market though, so it's hard to kind of match that. And one thing I noticed with both North Van and Burnaby is I think it was just randomness that brought this together, but the average sale price in the last 60 days, the average days on market was 16, and the median days on market were 7 in both markets. And it's not a surprise when you isolate in the last 10 homes sold in Burnaby, 4 of them sold over asking. The last 10 homes in North Van, 7 over asking. You're going to get a lot of homes that sell in that opening week. And that's just what we're back to. The high price in Burnaby, the highest sales so far was $4,050,000. And that was that was a government road house that's 4 years old, 6,000 square feet on a 12,000 square foot lot. The median house, 1.9 million, just to kind of help you paint the picture of 1.9 million that gets you, in, say, North Burnaby, that would be like a Vancouver special, 1970s Vancouver special. Like, think of the stucco, the brick, a 33-foot lot, good layout, but they're, nothing special. And I, maybe in, so that's one sort of category. And then in a lot of North Burnaby, South and East, you get these 1950s, 1960s bungalows that are on larger lots. They might be 90% land value. But yeah, that's 1.9 million, can be anywhere from, a good floor plan in a Vancouver special to what I would call a newer Vancouver special in East Burnaby. I'm confusing people with the terms here, but a newer Vancouver special is just basically a stucco 2000 built newer home on a 33-foot lot in East Burnaby. That might be 1.9. And you name any part of Burnaby that has a nice lot with a view, a 1950s bungalow box might go for 1.9 million. So Burnaby is a big market. It's like 3 cities in one. And I think we're going to see a lot more uptick in Burnaby. We have a new listing that just hit North Burnaby on Union Street. Curious to see the outcome of that. That will tell us a little bit more about, well, we'll see if we get multiple offers, Denny. We're not looking at offers today, so I don't have any feedback there.
New West?
Yeah, let's do it.
New West, last 60 days, there's been 25 sales. The average sale price is 1,409. The median sale price, 1.38 million. High sale price. There's only been one sale above 2 million, which I think, to your point earlier of the median sale price being slightly low, there hasn't been many big sales. There's a handful of newer homes listed for sale that have been up for a while that are priced at 2021 prices that I think just aren't selling. So that's probably hanging the median sale price back a little bit. Low sale price, 1.15. Average days on market in the last 60 days, 30. Sales over asking, 10. So 40%, 10 out of 25 sales in the last 60 days have sold above the asking price. When you look at the fall, September, October, November, stats are pretty similar in terms of number of sales, average sale prices, etc. The big difference from the fall to the last 60 days is sales over asking. 23% in the fall to 40% in the last 2 months.
And I looked at the last 10 houses sold in New West, and 7 of 10 were over ask.
So if you narrow that to the last the last 30 days, there's only been 6 sales posted on in the last 30 days. 5 out of 6 sold over asking, and the one that did not sell over asking sold at full price. So there's been 0 sales in the last 30 days under asking in New Westminster.
I think it's good to note that a lot of these homes that are selling over asking, I think the big difference between today and last year and the year before is they're often coming with subjects. So even though prices were getting back into, it's new days of getting back into this multiple offer situation. I've actually just noticed it in the showings I've had over the last week. I've had more realtors chat with me about missing out on multiples and you name the property. So it's funny how our market shifts so quickly. But yeah, I think I hope that subjects stick around a little longer. If they don't, it's because our market is wild and crazy. But it's nice when people have time to do subjects. And when they don't have time to do subjects, and then we start seeing those subject-free ones come in, and then we start seeing these rescission periods get triggered, and we start seeing sellers chase money for rescission periods, that might be a little bit of a gong show. That's not here yet. Good thing about New West, smaller house market, so we should acknowledge that. It's like Port Moody. There's not, by the numbers, there's not a lot of houses. You get far more houses in Burnaby, Coquitlam, North Vancouver than you do in New West. And right now, New West, the data is a little bit skewed because you said one sale for a house over 2 million, and there are a lot of homes in New West worth over 2 million. I took a look at one more market just to kind of get a little bit curious about it because I was wondering, where are all the high end sales? So I looked at detached homes that have sold over 3 million. Where are they? And it's overwhelmingly Vancouver West Side. So Vancouver West. And in February and March, those 2 months, there were 100 sales over 3 million in the west side of Vancouver. And to put that in perspective, compared to last year there was 150 in 2022. And in 2021, there was 147. So it was actually the one market, I think New West had a third of the sales this year or in that same period as they did two years ago. And Vancouver basically had 100 sales versus 147. They're not, it's arguably the least slow market out of the comparison, out of the cities we're talking about. And I mean, we don't do a lot of business out that way. We do sell in Vancouver West more often in Vancouver East, but it's clearly making a bit of a comeback, a little ahead of the curve, which kind of makes sense in a post-COVID world where the city is going to start seeing more of the benefits because they were not getting the gains that like Port Moody and North Van got over the last few years.
That's interesting. I'm surprised by the number of sales. I thought that would be a lot lower.
Yeah. And the high sale of the year, 24 million. Yeah, just a Point Grey Road address.
Was it?
Yeah, it was. Look at I mean, it was an architecturally like magnificent home, but it wasn't new. I mean, we're talking about like just walls of glass and concrete, like a beautiful home on the water. I think 5,500 square feet or something like that, 24 million. Congratulations to the realtors behind those sales.
Speaking of, I saw a video on Instagram yesterday. Ryan Serhant, someone asked him what is the highest price sale he's ever had. And he currently has a listing for $250 million that is overlooking Central Park in Manhattan. Brand new building and like a huge penthouse unit, 60 something floor. But he said the highest that he's ever completed on was $147 million. So that puts our 24 million in Vancouver to shame, man.
Just and their exchange rate. Yeah, we're not New York prices.
No, not yet.
I think I saw an article where one of the wealthiest people in the world, their son bought a 17 or $18 million condo in New York. And that, when you do the exchange rate, is equivalent to our Point Grey Road sale. So, I get, Denny, what would you say the data that when you look at the single family homes that we're seeing right now, what do you anticipate over the months ahead? Like, what do you think what are some actionable items that you take from this to give to people looking for a home or thinking of selling a home right now?
Thinking of looking for a home, thinking of upsizing, be prepared to compete, which means like have all your information ready to go. Get your pre-approval. Do a lot of due diligence prior to that offer date, because the likelihood of you going up against someone is pretty high right now. There just is not enough homes for sale. Every week they're like in the markets that we're looking at, that we have clients looking at, it seems like there's like one or two to go see. And how many people are out there looking? I mean, North Van is a good example. We had 75 groups come through because there was that one good house that week. And that's not changing yet. Maybe coming back to the beginning of the podcast, maybe 2 months behind this market, that idea, maybe that is for inventory. Maybe May, June are going to look a little bit better for buyers. But as of right now, it's pretty slim pickings for the upsize right now.
It is. I guess the obvious is, like subject to sale offers are probably out the door. You'd be looking at trying a subject to sale on a listing that's just struggling.
Yeah.
And you're going to be paying a premium price to try to get one to convince one to do a subject to sale offer. Yeah. Very common. I guess the positive of a stronger market, it's more predictable that if you buy first, then sell. If you buy first, negotiate a longer close, give yourself time to get your place on the market and sell in that period. A little more predictable. When we were having conversations, a lot of people that own a home struggle to sell their home before they know where they're going. So many people want to find a home that they love, then sell. And in the fall, it was a little bit risky because the sale was uncertain. It's easier to buy last November than it was to sell in a lot of cases. But now it's becoming easier to sell than to buy. And I think the seller's market's back. So it still puts risk on you. And I think every situation needs to be evaluated. But, I think in a lot of cases, if you're buying and selling at the same time and you don't want to be homeless, make sure you just negotiate a long close and hopefully you sell your place with multiple offers above list and everything works out.
You know what that does for inventory? It hurts it because our team specifically, we probably have somewhere between 12 and 25 people that are actively looking for homes that there just is not much available, and they're waiting to list their property, their condo, their townhouse, their entry-level home till they find something. But if there's nothing for sale for them to buy, they also are not listing their home, even though they're looking to move because of the market condition that we're in. And that is what a lot of consumers are choosing to do right now, is to wait until they find something, and that holds back inventory.
Oh, that's what we've been seeing. A high rate environment. I think there's a lot of people that just are not comfortable or qualified in this moment, but that will hopefully change as fixed rates hopefully come down. Denny, if someone is thinking of making a move or just uncertain about how to do this equation of buying a house or selling their house, what do they do? Who do they call?
They call us, Jamie. This is what we do on a daily basis. These conversations are really fun to kind of game plan around your specific situation. And we are dealing with offer scenarios and new listings on a daily basis throughout Greater Vancouver. And as you can see, we We work in so many different municipalities. That's one of my favorite parts of my job, I think, is that you get to know so many different areas of Greater Vancouver really well because you're in 5-6 different cities every day. But reach out to a realtor. I think in these really competitive markets, it's very important to have a knowledgeable expert on your side to navigate through these very murky waters right now.
It's good to know what your home's worth. It's good to know how to prep it. Even if you don't, like if there's a 50-50 chance you're moving and but you just want to be flexible, like because a lot of people don't want to move until they find the right home. And they find the right home and they got caught off guard and they're not ready to sell. Spring is here. Start chipping away at that to-do list on your home. Make it presentable so that if a home comes up, you're not leaving money on the table when you have to sell yours. That's it, Denny. That's our house market update. Get ready for spring.